Hello, Kaylee, Aislinn, Blair, Macy, and Paxton. If you forgot, my name is JThornton, and I'm your eldest brother. I've had the privilege of watching you all grow up before I left for college to pursue my own dreams, and I'm sure you're tired of me telling you to read for all these years and how it's good for you. So I'd like to take the time and tell you how I grew up learning to read and write, and how it has changed my life in hopes that you will all be encouraged to pursue reading and writing in your life. I guarantee you mom or grandmas would love to see you reading on the couch when they come home. I'll start with Grandma Betty. I want you guys to see my literacy journey as learning to comprehend and really understand different perspectives of the world, and hopefully you can see how to open yourselves up as well. Grandma Betty worked as a teacher for 30 plus years with a master's in reading and learning disabilities before she retired. So not only did I have our great-grandparents' sole attention, but I also had the added benefit of learning how to read with Grandma Betty before I started school and after as well. She said that some of my favorite books to read at the time were Cat in the Hat, Good Night Moon, Aesop Fables, and James and the Giant Peach. Because of this, I was taught the phonics method to reading as opposed to whole word method, which means I was taught how to sound out individual letters and how they combine to form different sounds into words, versus the whole word method, which teaches words as whole units. Grandma Betty would read a little bit of the story to me and then have me read a little bit back to her. We would continue back and forth until the story was finished, and Grandma said, laughing when I called her about this, that I would beg her to start over so we could read it again. I essentially had a very personalized learning experience during the crucial formative years of my childhood, which no doubt had a great impact on my love of reading and writing. So, what comes after no school? That's right, school. This is where I introduce our Grandma Tammy, who at the time of me being in first grade in 2006, nearly 20 years ago, was an elementary school teacher with a master's in reading comprehension. Again, a close family member who not only deeply cared about my education, but was also heavily invested in the sector herself. So, what did Grandma Tammy do that influenced my literacy? She obtained a zone variance for me so that I could go to school with her during first grade. She would pick me up before school started, and I would often stay after school with her while she graded assignments or attended meetings. This responsibility to my academic career carried well into my secondary and post-secondary education. Almost. I want to talk to you guys about failure, embarrassment, and lying. All of these combined in my 6th grade English class to create a failing grade. I can't remember why I was failing. No bad assignments ring out in my mind or missing deadlines, but I'm sure those both happened in order for me to have an F in English. I remember feeling embarrassed because I was a straight A student in elementary school, but somehow I was failing at the Common Core curriculum my first year in middle school. This is where I began to forge our mother's signature on my progress reports. I want to take this time to let you know that it's okay to ask for help when you are having trouble with school or life in general. If the first person doesn't help you out, ask somebody else. Ask me if you need help. I understand what it's like to feel the shame of failing at something you feel as though you should know. Anyways, Mom found out I forged her signatures, and she proceeded to scream at me while trying to come to an agreement with my teacher so I would not fail the class. Learning how to read and write, learning different types of literacy, technological, academic, familial, emotional, financial, all come with different growing pains, and it's important to understand there's a different process for learning all of the types of literacy you'll encounter. I'm not proud of forging Mom's signature, and I'm glad she caught me because it allowed me to own up to my mistakes and realize how serious of an issue that was. Moving on to 2015, I decided to create a YouTube channel, the inspiration for the model of this literacy narrative. My technological and social literacy grew a lot when I created this channel because I was a 15-year-old teenager open to the world at that point. Granted, most of my viewers were friends and the content was random gaming videos, but still. Through this channel I created, I learned how to record and edit videos, I learned how to do giveaways and write to people who were in my comments, and learned how to deal with the trolls and the supporters. I researched how to make do with basically nothing for a computer, pirating editing software to end up doing simple cuts or zooms for every video. It also pushed me to create connections with people on the internet, where I'm actually going to meet them for the first time this year. I'm proud that I committed to the process. I have history of myself to look back on and see how far I've come. I have since switched to doing book reviews on my channel, which I think fits much more closely with who I am now. Those are the main events that I've been able to dig up concerning the literacy for my early childhood and teenage years. I now want to go to senior year of high school and then college, where I no longer lived with you all in Vegas and was unable to see your progress on a daily basis. My English class senior year in high school was primarily literature-based, where we had the opportunity to read world literature such as Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, and my personal favorite, one that ranks in the top 3 for me, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I was the only one in my class to finish Crime and Punishment. I was enraptured by Dostoevsky's style of writing and how real his characters felt. Raskolnikov's ego and plight of murder altered my brain chemistry. Being led through Dostoevsky's fall of man and eventual redemption was better than any piece of cinema or song I had ever enjoyed up to that point. I couldn't believe writing could be this good, no less than nearly 150 years ago. Having a teacher who fostered my love for books helped tremendously with my search for a major going into college, so I decided to apply to the University of Nevada, Reno with a major in English. While at UNR, I had the pleasure of taking a class with Professor Daniel Morse, and one of my assigned readings was The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. I still can't really describe how I felt the first time I finished reading that life-changing piece of literature. My favorite period to study is still modernism because of how they broke the mold with writing. But reading The Metamorphosis was only half of the reason why I decided to stay at UNR. The other half was the literary criticism and theory that scholars were able to extract from the text. Now, girls and Paxton, I don't want to confuse you all too much, but this is a pretty important part of my journey as a scholar, so I want to impart a basic foundation for this level of my literacy story. Literacy theory and criticism have evolved over the decades to encompass theories such as postcolonialism, feminism, eco-criticism, Marxism, structuralism, queer theory, and indigenous studies, just to name a few. What these bring about are ways in which to view the world. When you apply it to literature, it becomes a way to view this media through these frameworks theorists have built when surveying the world around them. It exposes dominant viewpoints and how they have maintained power, or it can give power to the subaltern and minority voices who now have foundational text to produce discourse about themselves and others. Learning to apply these theories to works of literature really cemented in my brain I was capable of being an academic and potentially teaching in a college classroom. Moving ahead to senior year, I have two projects I'd like to share with you. The first of which was a research paper on Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift, where we had to create a poster out of our research and a little elevator speech to go along with it. This was the first time I was exposed to research being something other than an essay. I was able to have some creativity with my decisions. Looking at the poster, I went a pretty basic route, but I had to learn skills of compressing my research down into bullet points and a speech where I convinced the visiting professors of my research enough to where I won a small award for that presentation. This again communicated to me literacy is not just about reading and writing, it is about the fluidity underneath, how things can change as technology moves forward, and we understand assignments do not have to be created in one way because out in the real world, you are not writing a 5-page essay for your employer every week. My second project was my undergraduate senior thesis, where I wrote an article-length paper on Cormac McCarthy's The Road. That is the paper I'm most proud of because everything I've been studying for the past 4 years in college, and all of my life to be honest, led up to this point, where I had a semi-publishable paper, one of my professor's words, not mine. I had produced a piece of text that could potentially be shared in the same journals I was instructed to read from for the past several years. That was exciting. I'm going to end this digital literacy narrative by reflecting on where I am at now and what I have accomplished with my master's degree here at Arizona State University. My favorite classes so far have been English 560, Magical Realism as a Global Genre, English 523, Environmental Humanities, and English 584, The Writing Mentorship. The first two are because they were literature and theory classes. They made me read novels I had never heard of before, and I absolutely love them, and I had the opportunity to develop and deepen my knowledge of eco-criticism, which may just be the research I pursue with my doctorates. As for the writing mentorship, it has given me practical experience working with students and given me an idea of all the different ways I can grow while beginning my own teaching career. What I'm creating this digital literacy narrative for is to show you that through my development of different literacies, I was exposed to opportunities and ideologies about the world I never would have thought possible. Of course, you don't need to go as far as getting a master's, but even cracking open one of the books I left at the house will enable you to think about the world and its inhabitants differently. Witnessing and engaging with others who hold different perspectives and experiences than you through literature will not only make you better readers, but it will make you more empathetic humans. And at the end of the day, that is the teaching philosophy I arrived at through countless hours of building my different literacies. Thank you, and I'll see you guys soon.